Viral debrief. Coming up. Hey 7-4 crew, welcome back. If you don't know me, my name's Kelsey. I'm a 747 pilot. My channel, 7-4 Gear, is all about aviation. I want to thank all of you in the 7-4 crew for sending me all these different videos. Honestly, without all of your help, I wouldn't be able to keep making this series. If you have a video that you want to see in this series, the two easiest places to send them to me are via my Instagram at 7-4 Gear or the free 7-4 Gear forum. In this first video, you'll see the pilot looking to the back. What he's looking at is this door the back of the plane has actually opened up. Now that you know what they're looking at, let's get into it. I just sped this part up because it's kind of long, so I don't want to make this super long of a video. Long landing roll.
Jesus Christ. Got a few more there on the ground. So everyone's safe.
Since the audio isn't hooked up to the GoPro, you can't hear exactly what he's transmitting. You hear the Mayday, Mayday, Mayday call, but what I was happy to hear is it was nothing like this.
Oh Lord Jesus!
Some of the people that sent me this clip asked me why did he land in the field. I can't answer why he would have landed in the field when there was a road nearby, but something you have to take into consideration if you're ever in this situation is a lot of roads that are on remote areas like this have telephone lines or electric lines or things like that running by it. So it's something you have to factor in if you are ever in a situation is that what are the things that you could hit? Obviously in the middle of a field like where they landed, there's not going to be generally any cables or anything like that that are going to interrupt the aircraft's flight. And just like what I talk about with Sully, at the end of the day, you have to look at the results. And they both lived and the plane was fine, and it's hard to argue with that. As an airline pilot though, it's a little bit different. In the scenario that you were to have a door come open, which would be very hard to do, but let's just say it happened, you'd have an explosive depressurization. And in that scenario, you can't just dive towards a random field like this. You have to get as quickly as possible down to 10,000 feet so everybody can breathe, but you generally don't want to ever accelerate the aircraft. The reason behind that is that you know that at this current situation, the structure of the aircraft is holding up at this current speed. But if you were to speed up, it's possible that you could injure or damage the aircraft even more, and it could create a much more serious problem. One of the things that the pilots train for is this exact situation, an explosive depressurization and getting to 10,000 feet as fast as possible without accelerating. So that way at 10,000 feet, most every person can breathe fine without needing any extra oxygen, and then the people who were freaked out and screaming for the 2 or 3 minutes while you got down to 10,000 feet will start breathing again, normal air, even if they're passed out. So we're going to assume that there was wires or something like that that made the pilot choose to land in a field like this. Fair enough. He did a great job coming in and continuing to fly the aircraft, and he kept the landing very soft on this field. Something else that he did that you might notice here is that he's pulling back on the yoke. I've talked about this in other videos, but on smaller aircraft like this, you don't want to have too much weight on the nose of the aircraft because what can happen is it can flip over. So by pulling back on the yoke like that, he's keeping the weight off of the nose, which is preventing, in case he hits a rut or something like that in the field, it prevents the plane from actually flipping over. Now, all in all, he did a great job, and I was very excited until I saw this part of the video. He's still moving very quickly along some cow pasture, but instead of waiting to come to a stop, he decided to turn around and grab his GoPro and film the door. I mean, I get it. I've known people who've climbed out the emergency hatch of a 747 to take a picture for the gram, but just wait till you come to a stop and then film the door. for those of you that don't know, you never want to hear that horn that you're hearing. You never normally want to hear that. That's a stall warning horn. It says your plane is about to stall. So you don't ever normally want to hear that, but you also don't want to hear the only engine that you have on your aircraft stop working. Honestly, that's one of the best parts about flying the 747. It's very, very rare that a turbine engine is actually going to break and not work anymore. But on 747, if that happens, you have 3 more. So it's kind of easy to go to sleep at night while you're flying over the ocean and know everything's going to be okay. Every aircraft has a glide speed. It means that at that speed, your aircraft is going to be able to fly the furthest amount of distance. So with that horn going off, I'm assuming that what the pilot is trying to do is keep right at that speed to get as close to the shoreline as he can for the people. Obviously, he didn't make it all the way to the shoreline, and I don't know on this particular aircraft, because I've never flown it, what that speed is, and if it's because it's full of people that at that speed it's got the horn going off, or if he's just trying to get as far to the coastline as he can. I don't know specifically what he's doing. You can see here though, the pilot is moving his hand on this wheel near his leg. That, I believe, is the trim wheel, which is going to get the plane set for a specific speed. Something else that surprised me here is look how calm everybody is. This is either a plane full of people that are really in shock, or it's just kind of that Hawaiian way where things are just, hey man, it's all going to work out okay. Something else that I noticed, and I don't blame the pilot because obviously he was very focused, and I'm not sure if he was a single pilot, meaning he was flying just by himself, but they were obviously focused on getting to the shoreline. But had they told everyone to put on a life vest, it would have prevented a possible death. And that right there just highlights how important having flight attendants on a commercial aircraft is. Because while the pilots are busy trying to get the aircraft into the safest possible place for everybody, the flight attendants are going to be there to make sure you safely get off and away from the aircraft. When this first happened, what I ended up reading is someone accidentally put on a child life vest instead of an adult life vest. And again, having a flight attendant there that's screaming and yelling and telling you what to do is probably going to prevent or possibly see that you have the wrong life vest on and help you get off the plane safely. I don't know anything about what led up to the cause of the failure here, but from what I can see in this video, the pilot did a great job getting as close to shore as possible to increase the likelihood of being saved. And obviously, the closer to shore, people are going to see that plane and hopefully be able to get out to the plane as quickly as possible. You can do it. This also got sent to me a lot, and it's a little bit of an interesting one. See how aggressively the pilot pulls back on the nose here? Pulls back so much it looks like the tail here is about to hit the ground. What can happen is if you pull back too aggressively on the nose, you can actually have the tail of the aircraft hit the ground before it flies off of the ground. If you pull back too early on the yoke and you pull back aggressively like that, there's not enough speed on the aircraft for it to continue to accelerate. So in essence, the drag that's being created by the wings is actually inhibiting its ability to fly. The second one you see here is less aggressive on the yoke to pull it to get off of the ground. And this time you see it picking up speed and fly away, and the pitch of the aircraft actually starts to increase, which is what's supposed to happen. I've mentioned this before, but it's important that you understand with jets and all aircraft is that when you pull back on the yoke, you want to pull back so that the angle of the aircraft is pitched up to climb away from the ground, but you also want to let that aircraft fly off the ground. At the regionals, I would see every now and again a pilot would grab the yoke and actually yank it back. Now that's dangerous aerodynamically, but besides that, for the people that are in the back, it's very aggressive and very abrupt, and it's not necessary. If you pull back for whatever the pitch angle is for your aircraft, maybe it's 15 degrees, you pull back to 15 degrees and let that aircraft fly itself off the ground. And that's going to be the smoothest for the passengers in the back, and it's what the airplane needs to fly. Yet some people get so aggressive to get it off the ground, they'll pull back even more when it starts not climbing away from the ground, and that actually is counterintuitive and prevents the plane from continuing to climb. The fancy technical channels have all kinds of cool tools to show you the pitch angle based on the pictures, but I'm just not that fancy. Look here at the rotation angle of the first try, and then watch as he tries to do the second attempt. And you'll notice they nosed over to speed up, and then they took off the second time, and then they continued to increase the pitch. Now it's possible that they rotated too early, meaning they pulled back on the yoke too early as far as for the speed. That's one potential situation. The other possibility is that they pulled back too much and they didn't have enough speed. So then they lowered the nose over to pick up speed, then were a little bit more gentle to get the pitch of the aircraft off the ground, and then it doesn't have the drag of the wheels that are going along the ground there. So now that it's got off the ground, it gets the gear up, and now with that, it has a lot less drag, and now you can pitch up more and it can climb away from the ground faster. Now, I'm just assuming those things because I haven't seen a report that explains exactly what happened, but if there was some other situation, these pilots probably didn't have a lot of runway left and they had already decided they were going to take off. So at that point, if you factor all that in, they did a great job getting off the ground the second time because I'm sure there wasn't a lot of runway left when they took off the second time.
Bye, New York.
There's not a lot to explain here, but I'm sure that the drone operators, when they see this, the professional drone operators, it must make them furious to see people do things like this because it gives them such a bad reputation. Obviously, it's nice that it didn't go into the engine because that would have been a much worse situation. But even so, as it ripped off that winglet right there, had it hit middle or in the middle of the wing, anywhere alongside there, it wouldn't have ripped the wing off. And I just want to clarify that. Those winglets are designed for fuel efficiency. That's really it. I've had some people ask, are they there because they look cool? No, there's nothing on planes that are there because they look cool. It's really to save gas. So for those of you with the fear of flying, realize that a single drone like this would have a very difficult time causing an airliner to crash. If the drone had hit in the middle of the wing, it would have just crumpled into the wing. And had it gone into the engine would have had to be shut down. But as we've seen in the past, a plane can fly fine with just one engine. Something that's important to know about this video is that it never happened in real life, but it got sent to my Instagram so much, I wanted to let you know if it did happen, you would be okay. If you want to see more of these viral debriefs, check out this video here. And if you want to see a flight attendant who is scared of flying, I take her flying in a small plane. It is hilarious. Check out this video here on 7 Fort Burger. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up.